I trans female, yes, sir.
Do you have a
Well, I'm triggered that everywhere I go for the entire year, everything has to be straight. Why is straight
Where's
everywhere?
my straight flag?
There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
In a world of wokeness, there is often hilarious but also outrageous woke people that can get out of hand. So let's take a look at when men don't hold back from woke people.
You used a phrase, I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence by not recognizing that.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think it's important
because of my line of questioning? So we can't talk about it?
Because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist.
I'm denying that trans people exist by asking you if you're talking about women having pregnancies?
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think women can get
So
pregnant.
you are denying that trans people exist?
And that leads to Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you?
Absolutely.
Or are they also treated like this? Where
No,
they're told that they're opening up people to
we have a good time in my class. You should join.
Oh, I bet.
You might learn a lot.
Wow, I would learn a lot. I've learned a lot just in this exchange.
Absolutely.
Extraordinary.
Yep.
Ms. Matsky, let me ask you something. So you provide health care to women free of charge, right? Is that right?
Absolutely.
You've done this for many years.
Yep.
You have licensed medical professionals at your pregnancy care centers. Is that right?
That is correct.
And what are some of the resources that you provide for women who come to you in a time of need?
So,
just give us you talked about it in your written testimony, but just give us a sense of it.
So we have 3 OBGYN doctors, 5 registered nurses, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, phlebotomists, medical assistants, and we provide prenatal care, OBGYN care. We provide pregnancy tests, ultrasounds, well woman visits, breast exams. We provide a wide range of medical services. Yes.
So what do you think about the DC politicians now saying that your clinic and the other 3,000 pregnancy care centers around this country are fake medical clinics? For instance, Senator Warren has said it's now more important than ever to crack down on so-called crisis pregnancy centers that mislead and deceive patients. Senator Menendez, crisis pregnancy centers jeopardize women's health and well-being, all while elevating unproven theories about birth control. Senator Warner wrote to Google asking them to censor search results for care centers like yours, saying directing women to fake clinics that traffic in misinformation is women's health and undermines the integrity of Google's search results. Do you run a fake clinic? I mean, is that what's happening here? You don't provide actual medical care to actual women?
We absolutely do not run a fake clinic, and we have a full medical staff. Like I said, many of our medical professionals have experienced abortion for themselves, including our OBGYN doctor who used to perform abortions. So our entire medical staff is there for women, whether they choose abortion and walk out the door or whether they choose life for their baby, and we support them for years after that.
Do you think there ought to be an ideological test to be able to get medical care in this country? I mean, should we say to women, well, you have to agree with the DC Democrats' ideology, otherwise you can't go get medical care? Or maybe for you and the physicians who work at your pregnancy care center or the thousands of others across the country, should we impose an ideological test on them and say that, well, you have to agree with the DC Democrats' position on abortion? You can't provide medical care to women. Should we do that in this country?
Absolutely not.
I just want to ask in my few remaining seconds here, Ms. Harley, The Dobbs decision, as I understand it, I've read it now a number of times, it gives to voters the decision as to what laws should be pertaining to life and pertaining to abortion in all 50 states and other jurisdictions around the country. I'm just curious, do you know what percentage of voters in this country support the DC Democrats' position that they want to impose on the entire country, a one-size-fits-all rule they want to impose from the top down? Do you know what percentage of voters support their position, which is also, by the way, the same position taken by North Korea and China, other notable violators of human rights? Do you know what percentage it is?
I know that nearly 90% of Americans oppose abortion in the third trimester. The number that would support abortion up to the moment of birth has to be minuscule. It's a horrific policy.
Yeah, I mean, based on the most recent Harvard poll that was just released just a few days ago, it's less than 10% of voters say that they would support into the final month of pregnancy, and yet that is the law that the DC politicians want to impose on every voter in America, to take this away from the people, take it away from my state, take it away from all the other states and the voters in the states, but impose this law uniformly that is not supported by 90% of the American people. Talk about anti-democratic. At the same time, they want to shut down 3,000 pregnancy care centers all around this country. That's radical.
Come on, only women can get pregnant. It isn't too hard to answer, but yet these people are still trying to defend the idea.
Your shoes are leather! Her shoes are leather! Her shoes are leather!
Mushrooms, you
Hey, this is lit.
What are you doing with our sign? That's our property.
Ban fur globally! Hey, you guys killed it today. Oh wait, is that bad to say you guys killed it?
Yes.
You guys it.
Kind of hypocritical that they are wearing it themselves. Maybe they should start practicing what they preach.
We are on the same page. If you don't look like a girl, get the girls' bathroom.
I don't think you belong in the girls' bathroom.
But you wouldn't, my love, you wouldn't know.
Hold on,
like,
but
4 years in,
fair.
a lot of the issues that we're having is the divide where it's competition, my love. Where like we're dating the same men.
We're
rather
definitely
we want
not dating the
yeah,
same men.
we are, baby. Trust me.
No, we are not.
We are.
I don't know about dating.
Yes,
the same
we are.
man.
We're dating the same
Can't
dudes.
say that.
I think that there's a competitive aspect to where like
Carolina,
you
this
would
is
not
where I just
know.
full on cut you off.
We actually need to make a trans bathroom now. I mean, if women feel unsafe with trans people going to their bathroom, then they shouldn't be allowed.
You don't get to make a decision.
Did you just tell me I don't have a uterus?
It will never happen to you. It will never happen to you. Are you telling me that you have a uterus?
Well, you couldn't tell me I don't if I claimed it. My pronouns are owner, male.
Yeah, so their own logic even proves that they can't win a debate.
Can men have babies?
Yes, men can have babies because not every man is male and not every woman's female.
What would you say to all the people that say, no, men can't have babies?
I'd say that they need to study kind of the difference between gender and sexuality. Obviously, like, gender's more of a construct. I'm a male, but I don't consider myself a man necessarily.
Why do they all say that men can have babies? This is just such a blatant lie.
We took LGB and then we added LGBTQIA+++, and then we included men who dress up like women and mock women, like influencer Dylan Mulvaney. And then a lot of American conservatives just said, listen, we've had enough. It's okay if you're proud of your sexuality, but why do I have to be proud of your sexuality?
Why are you so triggered by a flag? It's a rainbow flag. You mentioned Regent Street.
I'm not triggered by a rainbow flag. I'm triggered by the fact that everywhere I go for a calendar month, everything has to be a rainbow flag.
Well, I'm triggered that everywhere I go for the entire year, everything has to be straight. Why is straight
Where's
everywhere?
my straight flag?
Why am I constantly
Where
getting
is my straight flag?
Why are straight people holding hands in the
When
street?
have you ever seen a straight flag?
Why has Mickey Mouse got a
Tell me
girlfriend?
one straight flag
Why
hanging
are you
right now
pushing-
anywhere in the world.
Why are straight people
Where
pushing
is the straight flag?
identity
Where's the
onto
straight
me?
flag?
Everywhere.
Where's my straight flag?
It's everywhere. Both of you are straight, and you're saying you're exhausted.
How do you know I'm straight? How dare you guess my...
Like, let's not play games here. It is
I
exhausting.
don't remember Tommy revealing her...
Yeah, so what people are doing behind closed doors actually wasn't a big deal. It's just guys like that who have now made it a big thing.
You said that you're a trans woman.
I trans female, yes, sir.
Do you have a Are you telling us that you're unfamiliar with the large body of medical evidence of the that has come upon people that have gone through these processes?
I'm familiar with a large body of evidence that shows that providing good affirming care saves lives.
Are you saying that you're unaware of the large body of medical evidence of the that has come upon these people in these processes that have been gone through? Are you unaware of that body of evidence?
I will repeat what I just said.
Are you unaware of that
I will
body of
repeat what I
evidence?
just said.
You said that you're a trans woman.
I trans female. Yes, ma'am, sir.
Do you have a
That's horrible.
You're the one that brought that into the discussion. You're the one that
Never
brought that
said
into
anything about genitalia.
Oh, it has
there-
everything to do with genitalia.
I don't know what my rights are for right now.
Audience, if you want to stay in here,
I don't know what my rights
Wait a
are, but that question was
Ma'am, you don't
highly
have to-
inappropriate.
you do not have to answer any question. If you're through, we'll dismiss you.
Well, I'm not through with questions, but I'm not going to answer that question. That's
Okay.
highly inappropriate.
Again, you can say that, and that's your right. So.
Okay, I'm a
there any
healthcare
other-
professional,
are there any
doctor.
other
Please
questions?
treat me as such. Next question.
So, yeah, I understand why she doesn't want to answer, but the problem is that everyone could call themselves a trans or women nowadays. You don't even have to look like one or have anything to do with it.
Is there a difference between women and men?
What I can say is that the NCAA has rules in place. They've had rules in place for the last decade, and when this competition
Okay, I'm
happened,
going to try again.
the rules were clear.
Do you believe there's a difference between women and men? It's a yes/no question. Do you believe there's a difference?
Oh, I think that we're talking about this case with the NCAA.
No, I'm asking a question. Do you believe there's a difference between women and men? Most people could answer this very simply. I'm curious if you're willing to do so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Title IX was a landmark civil rights law. It helped create the incredible breadth of women's sports and girls' sports that we see across the country. I believe in girls' sports. I believe in women's sports. I'm the proud father of 2 daughters who are both athletes. I think participating in competitive sports is a wonderful thing for a young girl. I think it is a wonderful thing for a woman. And I think, unfortunately, today's Democrat Party has decided that women's sports and girls' sports no longer matters. And they're willing to push radical legislation designed to destroy girls' sports and women's sports. Ms. Gaines, I want to thank you for your courage. You are relatively young, but you have demonstrated incredible courage. And because you have dared to speak up, you have been demonized, you have been vilified. I saw when you were attacked by a leftist mob at San Francisco State University for daring to speak up. You had an incredible record as a swimmer at the University of Kentucky. You were a 2-time NCAA All-American. You were a 5-time SEC champion. You're an SEC record holder and a 2-time Olympic trial qualifier. But yet on March 27th, 2022, something changed. What happened on March 17th, 2022?
That's when Thomas and I raced in the 200 freestyle and again resulted in a tie.
And so you tied. What was the consequence of tying?
We went behind the awards podium where typically you're handed your trophy, you're marched out, you're named an All-American. And so we go back there and the official looks at both Thomas and myself and says, "Great job, but you guys tied. And we only have one trophy, therefore we're giving this trophy to Leah." And I question this and I say, why? And at first I shortened it in my testimony, but really he stumbled on his words. He didn't know how to answer this. And at first he's, well, we're just doing this in chronological order. To which I further pressed and I said, okay, well, what are you being chronological about? Because we tied. And if we're doing this off alphabetical order, G comes before T. So what are you being chronological about? To which this wasn't a script they had prepared for him. And he actually appreciated his honesty. He did say, we have to give the trophy for Leah because Leah has to have it for pictures. They've made that clear. Leah has to have the trophy for pictures. You can pose with this trophy, but you have to give yours back. You have to go home empty-handed. Leah Thomas takes the trophy home. End of story.
Now let me ask you, as someone who's competed at the elite level, in your experience, is there a difference between women and men?
Of course. I think we learned this at a very young age, watching even 12 and unders play. Going through puberty causes irreversible advantage that no matter the training, no matter the diet, no matter any alterable change you can make will overcome that male advantage. Especially in sports like swimming where lung capacity matters so much. Even something as silly as throat size, men have on average a 40% larger throat, which sounds like it's nothing, but when you're grasping for air, that 40% larger throat makes a huge difference in athletic success, not to mention height. You guys know the differences.
Ms. Robinson, do you agree with Ms. Gaines that there's a difference between women and men?
If the question is about trans women,
I'm just asking, is there a difference between women and men?
I mean, what I can say here is that the NCAA has rules in place. They've had rules in place for the last decade, and when this competition
Okay, I'm
happened,
going to try again.
the rules were clear.
Do you believe there's a difference between women and men? It's a yes/no question. Do you believe there's a difference?
Oh, I think that we're talking about this case with the NCAA.
No, I'm asking a question. Do you believe there's a difference between women and men? Most people could answer this very simply. I'm curious if you're willing to do so.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just putting it into the context of the conversation that we're having. I think that there are definitions related to sex,
is
but
that
I
a
also
yes?
think
So I'm
that
trying to
when
get a yes or no. I'm not trying to get a speech.
Is
there a difference between women and men?
I think that there are definitions for biological sex,
So you're
which
not
is
answering
different
that.
than
Let me
gender.
ask you this question then. Why do women's sports exist? If you can't define a difference between women and men, why not abolish women's sports and just tell little girls to swim with little boys and see who wins?
Oh, I'm simply saying that that sex is
My
different
question,
than gender.
why
and I do believe that
do
women's sports have a great
exist?
value. I mean, Senator, I'll tell you right
Ms.
now.
Robinson, please answer the question I'm asking you.
Absolutely.
Why do women's sports exist?
I think that there are so many positive benefits to sports.
But
I mean,
why have a
we've talked
separate
about it here
category for
today.
women? If there's no difference between women and men, why to have women's sports?
I'm saying that there's a difference between sex and gender, and that the NCAA has rules in place, which they have for the last decade.
Mr. Chairman,
which
I
determine
would
that
like to enter into
related
the
to
record
participation.
an article from Duke Law called Comparing Athletic Performances for the Best Elite Women to Boys and Men. And it goes through examining in 2017 the top records for women in the world in various track and field events. So, for example, in the 100 meter, the top record for women in the world was 10.71 seconds. Now, that record for the number one woman in the world in 2017 was, in the year 2017, broken by 124 boys under 18. In that same year, the record for the number one competing woman in the 100-meter dash in the world was broken by a total of 2,474 men. If the radical Democrat agenda to destroy girls' sports and women's sports succeeds, little girls will not have a chance to compete. So I ask unanimous consent that this article be entered into the record.
Without objection. Senator Padilla.
Ms. Robinson, I want to follow up by trying to understand your answer to one of Senator Cruz's questions. And this is really a question, not a suggestion. Do I understand your position to be that there are two sexes, but there can be more than two genders?
I wouldn't even say two, and we've got Dr. Lopez here as well, but there's also the definition of intersex. I think that often in these conversations we're conflating sex and gender, and I do want to affirm here that trans women are women. That is their gender.
Okay, but I'm trying to understand. Do you make a distinction between sex and gender?
Yes, sir.
Okay, explain that. Just do you think there are more than two sexes?
I believe that there's a definition for intersex as well that I want to acknowledge, but sex is assigned
so
at birth.
Three, I'm just trying to understand. I'm thoroughly confused. So you're born. I'm talking about biology. Male, female, and what else?
I believe that intersex is also acknowledged. But again, I'm not a doctor here. What I can
and
say
what does intersex mean?
Is that there's a difference between sex and gender, and I think in these conversations we're conflating the two.
Well, but I want to start with, okay, there's male, there's female. When a baby's born, before the baby has had time to even have a sense of self, there's male, female, and intersex. There's a third sex.
I believe that is true, but I would defer to Dr. Lopez as I'm not a physician.
Okay. And how many genders are there?
I think the gender is expansive, and the definitions are always growing. Today I can tell you, I talk to young people that talk about non-binary as
more than five.
I think that gender is not a binary, is what I'm trying
But
to say.
are there more than 5 genders? I'm just trying to understand. Are there more than 5 genders?
Well, I mean, I think that there was a time where women wearing pants didn't feel like it was appropriate for their gender, and yet I'm wearing pants today. I think that there are ways that we express our
Are there
gender
more
that
than
are
5
expansive.
genders? Are there more than 5?
I wouldn't subject myself to naming how many genders there are, but what I can say is
there
that
an
gender is a
infinite
reflection.
number?
Excuse me?
There's an infinite number of genders?
I think depending on your culture, there are a lot of different genders that exist. And I can also say that it's a term that's evolving. If you look at young people today, they really don't lean into the binary of only woman and man. So I think that it's incumbent upon us not to legislate on this, but create space for them to explore what their identities are, what their gender identities are.
Let's get back to athletics. I think I understand what you're saying. There are 3 male, female, and inter.
I believe that to be true, but again, I'm not a physician.
And
so
there are an infinite number of genders because gender is a mental state.
Gender is about expression, and I think that there are a variety of ways that you can express your gender.
Okay, so there's infinite number. All right, let's go back to the biology. Male, female, boy, girl. Okay, biologically, do males have an advantage over females biologically in sports?
Again, I'm not a physician, and I can't speak to that.
What's your real world experience?
It depends. I mean, there are some people who are born male that I'm faster than if I were to sprint against them, and some that I'm not. Some males that are taller than some women, and some that are shorter.
You don't believe that a biological male has a physical advantage in sports over a biological female?
Not as a definitive statement.
Give me an example. Well, no, I don't think. How many female members of the NBA do you see?
Well, I can say that, there's been this news article about men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her. And it's just not the case. She is stronger than that.
What's your experience, Ben? Male, female?
Both Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player, which they're phenoms for women. My experience, my husband, he swam at University of Kentucky as well. In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week without trying.
Okay. I just think, Ms. Robinson, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. I think you lose a lot of credibility when you don't concede that a biological male has physical advantages over a biological female. I mean, I just think that's a proven fact, and you really hurt your credibility. I understand you want the world to be a better place. I do too, and I don't think people ought to be discriminated against because of an immutable characteristic. I don't. And I think that I think everybody ought to be free to be themselves. And what you do in your bedroom or what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult is nobody's business. But if what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult, if I decide I want to tell somebody's child about it, then other people have rights too. And I think parents have rights. And I think biological females have rights to be able to compete fairly in sport, in sports. So I really think you hurt your credibility when you refuse to acknowledge that biological males have an advantage over biological females. It kind of makes me wonder about all your testimony.
This is a clear example of a so-called feminist who clearly disregard every female right. It's just so hypocritical of the woke people to behave in this way. And imagine how unfair it is to the woman that was outcompeted by a dude.
How many genders are there?
Many. It's actually like quantifiably.
Well, how about a number? So quantifiable, good.
No, it's so many because.
Give me a number, any number.
Okay, well the way the data breaks down, this is why you don't understand it.
Number.
You don't actually care about learning one number. There's so many. The way that the
so many. So many is not a number.
chromosomes actually break down with inner
genders and the way that it actually happens, that is a starting point that you learn in like 5th grade. But when you actually do
Like
real
5th grade.
experiments, you learn that the way that data breaks down when it comes to
Can you give me a number or not?
genders.
Number?
A number? You have 2.
Yes.
That's 6th grade science. When you move on, there are hundreds of different categories.
So what you learn in 6th grade becomes less true as you get older? Like gravity becomes less true?
Why should anybody take the woke people serious when they can tell you how many genders there are? We are honestly just living in a circus show at this point.
How much do you want your wedding to cost?
My thing is not a cost thing. It just needs to
Say the number. We know. Come on.
I want 2 weddings. I want one here and I want one abroad in South Africa.
Okay, so you've roughly done the costings, roughly.
I haven't done the cost.
But roughly.
Probably like 600k. Probably even more. Probably like
What currency are we talking about?
pounds. Probably like 500k.
Wedding.
400k.
Wedding.
350.
Wedding.
How much?
You're trolling me.
Why am I going down?
You're trolling
How
me.
much do they cost?
A wedding.
Yeah, my dress, my bridesmaids, my car, my people, my hair, like my ring. Are we including the whole thing?
Yeah.
600k for her wedding. And what is she expecting? Like an entire Disney movie made out of her wedding? Or what is this?
I have a master's degree because when I got certified, I was told I had to have a master's degree to be an Arizona certified teacher. Are we allowing the parents to choose the curriculum and the books that our children are going to read? The purpose of public education is not to teach only what parents want their children to be taught. It is to teach them what society needs them to be taught.
There's more than 100 years of Supreme Court precedent telling us that we have the distinct privilege and responsibility of directing the health, education, and upbringing of our children. You don't have that responsibility. Regardless of what you think about the importance of public education, the power ultimately lies in the hands of the parents who not only pay for what you do in the classroom, but whose children you instruct during a finite period of the day. If we're going to talk about responsibility and ownership, maybe you should take a look at our nation's math and English schools.
So the woke teacher literally wants to own the kids, or what? A teacher in a school, of course, shouldn't be teaching them what to believe.
Every single one of you is cat. My daughter, right here, sweetheart, tell these people, do you want a little boy to watch you pee?
No,
No. Why?
because it's inappropriate.
It's inappropriate. My 8-year-old daughter knows it's inappropriate, and yet y'all sit there silent. I tell you what, I want to prove that you're all hypocrites. Because each of you ladies, I want you to invite your husbands. Let's go to the bathroom. I want them to watch me watch you use the bathroom, and let's see if they get mad. Let's prove to the public the hypocrites that sit on this board. If a little boy follows my daughter in that bathroom and touches her, you will have a new rather of danger. Now stand up and do something. You're so scared of losing federal funding, it's ridiculous.
Thank you.
How is this being allowed? Imagine going against 98% of the population to please a minority group. Isn't the government supposed to be for the people?
I like the colour. Oh, brilliant, brilliant.
Yeah, the horses weren't too pleased with that flag.
I have one more question for you. What is your fursona?
I
So fursona is like, what animal really speaks to you? No. I need this for an argument. Please, come on, man. Come on, man.
I got a good answer, guys.
Okay. What is it? I gotta know.
It's the beaver.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You have no idea. My whole family went to U of O. They will. That's the closest I could get of everybody, okay?
What in the world is fursona? I mean, the gentleman handled her question in a nice manner, but you can't make this up anymore. Respecting pronouns is just a joke. What about respecting people that serve the country instead of that?
What's your definition of a high-value woman?
You're independent. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't need to depend on someone else. And you value yourself. You don't let a guy tell you, what's the word? Like, you don't let a guy tell you, do you know what I'm trying to say?
No.
So they think men are attracted to a boss woman. The last thing I want is a masculine woman who takes care of the bills. Why can't they just accept their femininity?
Biggest thing, your biggest point that everyone here is for is that you're a potential white supremacist. So,
what evidence do you have that I'm a
I was just literally watching a video of you talking about whiteness as a whole, talking about whiteness as a concept, okay? And you were trying to explain how white privilege doesn't exist.
Correct, it doesn't.
You are a white man, how do you know?
Because I have eyes.
Because you have eyes. That's
And
not
I
a
have
description.
reason. What can a white person do that a black person can't do?
Black applicants to jobs are 50% less likely to get jobs with if they have a black sounding name.
That's not even close to being. That's not even close to being true.
That is a literal.
In fact, it's the opposite.
I'm not gonna argue your lived experience. I'm not gonna know.
See, now you have to listen to him under your rules because a black person is going to say you're wrong.
I am. He can say I'm wrong. I know.
Come on up to the mic.
I know. I have read your.
My name's Keemon Dixon. I have a really black name. Please tell me how 50% of my internships have been denied when I've worked for Senator Mike Lee, Mayor Trent Sachs, Speaker Mike Schultz.
Hold on.
I worked for a Congressman, Burgess Owens. I've actually worked on his campaign. I've worked on the campaigns of John Huntsman Jr. Please tell me how my black experience and my black name has not given me shit. Go ahead.
So.
It's funny how much they blindly believe in. Anyways, comment the word woke if you reach the end, but also like and subscribe to help my channel. Thank you and see you next time.